And welcome back. It's now time to check in with Tom, who's live over at the Resource Center this morning with your disability rep, Rory Rickstrew. Tom, good morning. How's it going?
Good morning. It's going fine, and it's always a good thing, you know, when I get to talk to Roy, because I always learn something. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for coming.
If you weren't here. Oh, this is something I'm pretty sure I've never seen in front of you, a couple of books. What is this all about?
Yeah, so the bottom one is a dinosaur. This is the Dictionary of Occupational Titles. And this is a book that Social Security put together in 1973. This happens to be a reprint in 1991. But in theory, it has every job in the national economy in it, as of at least 1973.
Okay.
It lists the job duties, the strengths, the skill level. There's a reasoning and math score that goes along with it. And so it is what Social Security uses to classify a person's past work and then to see if there's things they could still do despite their condition.
Okay, but if you're kind of making a case, I mean, I can guarantee you that, well, I can't guarantee you, but it would be my opinion, 99% of the people aren't going to fall word for word into a book like this. You have to present yourself.
Yeah, it does a little. It doesn't do too bad, but you know the output that comes from the research of this book is based on the input that the client gives.
Right.
And so when you classify your work for Social Security on a number of questionnaires, it's real important that you're very thorough about the detailed description of your job responsibilities, how much lifting, standing, walking, etc. that you did, because you're helping Social Security to pick the right job out of this book.
Okay. This sounds like another example of you really need to be honest with yourself to present yourself honestly.
Yeah, right. And you know, the thing is there's a lot of jobs that you would say, oh, I'm a CNA. Well, everybody knows what a CNA is, right? But some people pass meds, so that's a different thing. Some people are more orderlies. I worked at Lakeland years ago, and you know, we wrestled kids to the ground and held them down sometimes.
I know.
And there were jobs that were basically centered around that. So it's not all as straightforward as what we maybe think that it is. Orderly, CNA, nurse aide, household chore maker, companion. There's a job where you sit and play cards with people, and that's the entirety of your job duties. Cards, board games, read to them. You help keep the folks who are on hospice company. That's a whole lot different than a CNA, where you may be turning and twisting and lifting and transferring people. You may be using a Hoyer lift, for example. They're different things. And in our layman's terms, we come in and say, oh, I was a CNA, but that's maybe not necessarily what you really were.
Right, and every job tends to have something a little bit different about it, like, oh yeah, well, I have to move this thing daily. And that's not necessarily your job, but that's what you do.
Well, sure. And you know, there's other jobs too that sometimes you, like blueprint reading, for example. A lot of people work construction and build houses. Okay, but do you read blueprints? Do you hang trim? Are you doing plumbing? Are you a sheetrock person? There's so many things. Some people are concrete workers that work construction. So saying I'm a construction worker really doesn't tell us very much at all. And that's kind of the takeaway today.
Sometimes you also get, what would you consider it? You get little extras here and there, and that's something that, needs to be accounted for?
Yeah, if you're talking about job duties, extra job duties that a person gets, sure. You know, we have to focus on what the majority of your job is. You know, sure, if the boss takes off a week's vacation, maybe you're the lead worker and you're in charge for the day. But if you're not officially hiring and firing or processing payroll or keeping track of time, you're not really a supervisor, you're more of a lead worker. Filling in occasionally when your boss steps away for the afternoon is not the same thing as being the boss. So you got to be careful not to exaggerate your responsibilities.
What about accommodations?
Last thing I'll say there real quick,
go ahead.
You also want to make sure you don't overstate your importance, right? So everyone at the Resource Center knows that this place wouldn't run without me. I mean, not really, but that's the way people see themselves a lot of times in their jobs, and you may not be that important in reality. Right? Okay.
I always tend to think of everybody's replaceable.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of time.
Most definitely. But, you know, people kind of have this inflated view of how important they are to their employer, and a lot of times it's just simply not accurate.
Okay.
In regards to accommodations, there is a rule within Social Security that if you work with accommodations and your boss will provide those, they can put you back into a similar job and assume the accommodations will be there for you. And so it's real important that when you talk about these extra accommodations or breaks that your boss gives you, there's a difference between it being the formal policy of the employer versus the boss is looking the other way, or a gentleman's agreement.
Gentleman's agreement, yeah.
Right. So, maybe we have to sit down every so often because we're short of breath. If that's not part of our official agreement, it's just our boss turning a blind eye, they're different things. So when you talk about that extra accommodations you get from your boss, make sure you focus in on the things that are legitimately documented that you and somebody in human resources have agreed to. And
that's why you need to speak to an expert. And there's the guy right there. Now, people can call you directly.
They can. The 417-812-6698 rings directly to my desk. If I have a client in my office, I won't answer it. Julie picks it up for us then. But I do my own work. I handle all my own cases. Give me a call directly and we'll chat.
There he is, Roy Rickstrew, your disability rep. So give him a call, everybody. Back to you.